Good afternoon and welcome to the Joy Show with Rev B. I'm Reverend Barbara Schreiner Trudell, affectionately called Rev B, and I am delighted that you are here with me today. The Joy Show, joy to me is an acronym for just one you. And as we begin to live our authentic expression, as we find our own gifts and talents and share them with the world, beautiful, wonderful things happen, and we begin to experience life in a marvelous way. As we begin today, I'd like to start by acknowledging the land that I'm on, which is the Turtle Island, because we're right across the country here today. So we're on Turtle Island, and there are many different Indigenous, First Nation, and Métis groups that call this home and have absolutely looked after these lands for millennia. I am so grateful for that. I am so grateful for the opportunity to live, play, and work here. And I am just doing whatever I can to ensure that Indigenous ways of life continue, grow, and expand. What I know is we're all one, and I am so grateful to be related. So, with that in mind, I just want to say that living authentically is a powerful, positive thing that leads us forward in ways that are truly, truly wonderful. And I am so very grateful that we are able to live our lives in a manner that suits each one of us, because all of us are a little bit different. Today, I'm excited to have with me a photographer, artist, and a psychic. Woo. Anyway, my beloved eldest daughter, Arlene Vernon, is with me today. Arlene, welcome, welcome, welcome. What a day you're having. I'm so grateful that you're here. Well, this life that you're living. Now, I'm not sure where we should start, but let's start with the photography. In the
Okay.
last number of years, I can't even remember when you started. I just surprised me all over. 4
Weird.
years? 4 years. Well, we're going to show some of her photos. She's been shooting wildlife for 4 years. Her photography is stunning, as you can see from this beautiful deer. And what's interesting is that she will actually bury herself in the snow in the dead of winter in Alberta and wait for the right and perfect bird or little creature, whatever, so she can get a perfect shot. So, Arlene, tell us a little bit about your photography and what got you involved in doing wildlife photography.
Okay. Well, always loved animals as a kid. As a child, I was an only child for quite a few years. So I spent most of my time outdoors, and the wildlife were my best friends. Lost track with it as I had children and marriages. But basically, what happened is my youngest daughter got quite ill, and when she got ill, I was struggling to find sort of peace. I was struggling to find a place to be, to put myself so that I could forget for a few minutes, or at least be at peace with what was going on in my world. So wildlife photography gave me that. It gave me that peace. It gave me that distraction. It gave me that connection back to the earth and back to spirit, so that I was able to become the better me again. So
Okay. Now, tell me about the day you made the decision. Let me buy a camera and let me go out and take a picture of a coyote or an eagle or something. What? Tell me more about that.
basically, I was walking around the Holy Cross Hospital, which is located onto I think it's Glenmore Park. So basically, you walk out the hospital doors and you go into the ravine, and it opens up onto the actual park and onto the river and everything else. And as I'm sitting there, I can watch the chipmunks go past. I could see the birds going, and I started taking pictures with my camera, just my phone camera.
Phone camera. Yeah.
As we progressed, I ended up first. I got my husband bought me a $300 camera. Then it was a $1,200 camera. Now I've got a $10,000 camera.
It's
It's
funny
just
how the price
crazy.
goes up with your abilities. This particular photo reminds me of a painting. Like it doesn't even look real.
Yes, and that one was just taken. We just entered the park, and it was just sitting on a branch beside a building, and I just quickly snapped it as I was headed to the loop.
Wow. And what kind of bird is that?
Uh, Honestly, I don't know at this point. I think that it's a female red crossbeak. I'm
Okay. See, that's the
sure
trick question. I'm going to ask you questions that are going to be tough to answer.
it's, the coyote or the bear, but no, we have to start with the bird.
You have to start with a random bird that shot a while ago. So when you're out taking these photos, like you've got a photo of a bear. Like,
Yes.
I'm sorry, bears are dangerous. So how'd you do that? How did that
Well,
come to be?
we were driving along the highway, and on this particular Highway 40, bears are known to be there. And basically, we're driving along, and all of a sudden, down in the valley, like my camera is very expensive because it's got a very long range, so I'm always at a safe distance. And I was shooting down into the valley from on top of a bridge at this mom and her three cubs. So I
Wow.
was quite a ways away, kind of just hanging over a bridge, shooting down a valley.
Well, that's fascinating. And one of the favorites here in Toronto, of course, are the raccoons, because we have them, joining our garbage and our yards and all kinds of stuff. But you've got a great shot of a raccoon. They're incredibly cute.
Yes, and here in Alberta, they're incredibly rare. They normally don't
Mhm.
survive the winter. So when I tell people that I shot this in a park in Calgary, they're like, "No, you didn't." And I'm like, "Well, I'm pretty sure I did." But they're like, "I guess we do." They tend to stick to the parks and the communities that are around the parks.
Yeah.
And when they're able to survive our harsh winters, we have a raccoon population. It's just very limited.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have that problem in Toronto. We have a lot of raccoons.
Now I
They're
do have
kind of in everybody's yard.
a large one in your house.
Awesome, awesome. So now with your photography, is this something that you think, like, are you going to publish a book of wildlife photos from Alberta or anything like that? Like, what's the plan?
There's a few things. I mean, honestly, educating people about the animals that live around them and within their communities, I think, is huge. And educating people about what's proper fear around animals and what's inappropriate, why we don't
Okay.
feed wildlife, how to positively experience wildlife, and how to be a positive experience with them. Because we
Tell me about the coyotes, because you were featured in the news in Calgary about one section of land actually behind your home. Let's talk about that a little bit. What your hope is of the education process around coyotes.
well, coyotes have a really bad reputation, and unfortunately, it's typically due to off-leash dogs.
Okay.
Because basically there's a very short period of time. It's about 3 months in a year where coyotes have pups. And what happens is normally docile coyotes who you don't see, who are normally being nocturnal, are out during the day because they have to feed their young. Now, both the male and the female feed their young. Now, when the little ones are small, it's only the male, but as they get bigger, the female hunts as well. Now, if anybody comes near that den, the job of the coyote that's out for feeding is to walk people away from their thing. But if their dog's off leash or another or approaches them, that's a threat to their,
Young.
because if they had another coyote come along, they would be after land. They would be after taking their resources. They would be after eating their young, because that would be a thing. So dogs, they see as a threat. So
Of
if the
course.
dog's off leash, there's going to be an incident. And small dogs are seen as food. If your small dog isn't on leash, it is seen as food. And that's only just because they don't think the way we do. They don't see it as the sweet little dog. They see it as a squirrel, as a gopher, as a rabbit, because those are their normal foods. But once again, coyotes are fairly, they prefer to have um, rodents, rats,
Mhm.
mice, those kind of things. They really don't like to fight for their food. They like to
Okay.
eat.
So
Um,
it's actually good to have them around, especially if you have lots of green space around your neighborhood. The coyotes will actually keep down sort of the
rodent population, correct?
rats and okay. Not that
Yeah,
there's any rats in Alberta because we know they don't have them.
yeah, we do, but that's besides the point. That's another thing that yeah,
That's a whole other
we
conversation.
do. We do. It's just not to the population that it is across the world. And you know,
Exactly.
coyotes are absolutely phenomenal rodent keepers because they will catch in an hour 60 or 70 in a go. Like they just continually eat.
Wow.
Um, I've photographed them for over 2 years in my backyard. Unfortunately, due to dog attacks and so on and so forth, my male lost his life. So we don't have coyotes in the back anymore because she mated with someone else um, that
Yeah.
lives further down in Fish Creek. So, um, but that's the thing is when you have humans and coyotes together, there is a balance to be had, and it's
Yeah.
about mutual respect. They keep the rodents out so that we don't get sick, and they keep the lands clean of any kind of contaminants because they pretty much eat everything.
Right.
As
Okay.
long as we keep our dogs on leash and we respect their boundaries during the seasons when they're having young, which is basically end of March until June, where they're very defensive.
Okay.
I want to spread education. That's the gist of it, especially with coyotes.
Yeah. Well, and that could be a great thing. Like, there's a great idea for your book, all
Mm-hmm.
your photos, but also here's how to interact, here's how to keep yourself safe, here's what you need to do in order to enjoy nature,
Yes.
but at the same time, not destroy it. I mean, we have to learn how to live harmoniously with wildlife and with everybody around us. So I think that's really really important. And
Well,
that's cool.
there's a profound documentary done a few years ago about the wolves in Yellowstone Park.
Oh, that was so good. Yeah,
They
yeah.
annihilate
Yeah,
all of the wolves in Yellowstone Park and realized within 5 years the land devastation that it had caused because there was nothing left. It went from being a lush green area to being
oh,
completely bare.
completely decimated. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then
I
they
watched that
removed
video.
and watched it all come back up again. It was
Well, and it
incredible.
was interesting how fast it returned to the correct ecosystem. So this speaks to anywhere where we go in and completely destroy one
Yeah,
thing, whether it's a mosquito or it's flies, or if we go in and destroy anything like that and wipe them all out, there's an imbalance that now occurs environmentally that is going to cause us some challenges down the road.
exactly. And that's one of those things
Yeah.
a lot of people don't understand is when they want to get rid of the coyotes or they want to try and control the population. Well, by getting rid of the coyotes or controlling the population, you're allowing your rodent population to grow.
To
You're
increase.
allowing it to consume your lands, to ruin your yards because they eat those voles. Those voles are the ones that put the big holes in your yard. You know,
Yeah.
the gophers, the all of those things. They create a balance. There's a very delicate balance between nature and us, and unfortunately, a lot of times that's not being met, and it's a lot due to fear. A lot of these
Well, yeah, yeah. Now,
direct.
you did a video a while ago of I think it was a lynx that was walking around your neighborhood, checking out people's yards, their garages, walking around their cars.
Yeah, so it was our local bobcat. We called him Bob the
It
Bobcat.
was a bobcat, okay.
Yeah, and he would hop our fences, and he would go in, and he's what controls the rabbit population within our community.
Yeah.
He's a
Wow.
little guy, and I told people, I said, you know what, for during the summer months, take your dog out by leash. You know, like if they're little dogs, take them out by leash just to ensure you don't have an issue. I mean, my dogs are big
Yeah.
enough that he wouldn't bother, but you do have to be cautious of it and understand that, you know, when you have a small dog that's the size of a hamster or slightly bigger, it's a risk. It's a risk. I have two small dogs. I'm not judging. I love my small dogs, but I go
Yeah,
outside
but they
with
also look like food to a bobcat.
that. Yep.
Okay, so now there's a couple other pictures that I want Deja to share. This one's spectacular. I really, really love that. Is that a female?
That's a male.
That's a male. Okay, I have no clue about these things. So
Yeah,
you
the
have to
horns head are male.
horns on the, oh, that's the
Yeah.
clue. All right. And I think there's a couple of other bird pictures that we have in here that I wanted you to give
Sure.
some thoughts about. Oh, this one here. Is this a blue heron?
Yeah, that's a blue heron in the middle of Fish Creek Park. Um, it was bathing. That's why it has its wings up because they have to dry their wings before they take flight. So when
Oh,
you're taking a photo of them, you wait till they're done bathing and then they dry their wings before they take off.
that's very cool. That's a beautiful shot. That's a beautiful bird.
Thank you. I credit for the bird, God.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That is so cool. Well, there, you are, and again, here's another gorgeous shot of a deer. Um, Now, you are a little diverse
Yes.
in the things you do artistically. So that's your photography and your love of animals, which we're going to need to. Oh, look at this one in
Yeah,
flight.
that's a juvenile starling. I had an entire swarm of baby juveniles in my backyard and was blessed enough to take photos of them.
Now, how big is a starling?
A starling's just a little bit bigger than your hand when its wings are spread. Like they're not too big.
Like here, it looks like this grand big bird, and it's like a little tiny thing, right?
It is a very small bird, and in fact, the European
Beautiful.
starlings were brought here from Europe for a birthday of one of the monarchs, and they were released. I think there was 100 of them, and that's what's created our colonies here. They're not actually from Canada.
Originally. Isn't that cool? Well, that's yeah. I'm in awe. I'm in awe. I'm not exactly sure how I created these very artistic, talented children, but somehow it happened. Okay, so moving along. Now you've got some very quirky art. Um, you have been You've been creating these kind of interesting dolls. And I know
Yeah.
people will be able to see them on your Instagram. I don't think you sent me any photos.
Nope.
Um, but you like to make kind of take nice regular dolls from the store and then you alter them to
Yes.
be kind of scary.
A little bit. Well, some of them are. Some of them are fairies. Some of them are witches. Some of them are. It just depends on the doll and what it comes out as. So each one's different.
Each one is different. So, what got you thinking about doing that? Like, why do you take these perfectly good little dolls that you buy at the store and then make them wild and wonderful?
Well, they were monster high dolls to begin with. So I don't know that they weren't odd to begin with, but basically there's tutorials on YouTube about how to make over dolls and stuff. And I've always loved dolls, but taking the art of painting and the art of sculpting and putting it in with dolls and creating something new out of something that was old because I buy them all used
Yeah,
was just a great thing because once you like I film the transformation from where they start because they usually start with purple or green skin because they're monster high dolls
right.
and then you spray them, you change them back to normal color, you blush them so that they have normal features, and then you can give them ears and make them fairies, or you can make them into animal people, or you can make them into whatever. It's just creativity, and I think that rather than every doll being stereotypically the same thing, that it's kind
Yeah.
of nice to have diversity.
Something that's very, very different. Very, very different. You also paint and draw
Yes,
and write.
yes, yes. I do a lot of writing.
So tell me about the painting that you do. Is there any particular medium that you're most comfortable with, or?
Well, I can say I like a lot of different mediums. I like watercolors. I love acrylics. I love to take a pencil and draw. I hate oil. Absolutely hate oil painting. It is
Mhm.
the messiest, luckiest thing I've ever. Why people do it is beyond me. Um, but yeah, I've done sculpting. I did wood carving for a lot of years. I stopped that when my grandson was born because it's just too dangerous around him. But I
Yeah,
made from wood carving and
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
no,
I have some of your art right here, but I'd have to take it off my walls to show it. So Uh, I've
it's
got
fun.
an oil painting that you did that I stole from you,
Yes.
and then I've got a wood carving that's hanging almost above my head here on the wall. So the art that you do, what is the inspiration behind some of your paintings? Like, is there something that you're trying to convey that, or is it just here's what I feel like doing today?
I think it's more it's different than that, and I think most artists will express that as you go into almost a state of meditation
Mhm.
when you're doing it, and it comes through you, it flows through you and through your thing, and while you're doing it, you're just in an altered space. And having done the meditation courses and stuff like that, to me, it's the closest thing I could relate to that is because even when I was wood carving, you would take the wood and the wood would tell you what it wanted to be. Or
Okay.
you'd sit down and paint something, unless I was looking at something particular or I was doing it for someone. Because I've done some realism. It's not my medium, but I have done it because, once I did it because of my dog. I wanted to have a beautiful representation of my dog, so I did what was realistic of him. But for the most part, it's just about flow. It's just about what comes through, and it's more of a pure release.
Right.
Um, that just comes through, and you just allow it to be. It's just stroke for stroke where it wants to go. I don't think in my stuff that there's a particular large amount of thought. It's
Right.
I see a picture I love, I'll do it and I'll do it in my way, or I'll just pick up a pad and go. I mean, it just depends on the day. If I'm doing it for someone in particular, though, I'll do it in what they want, in the
Yeah,
way they.
whatever it is that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And so a lot of, when people go to your Instagram page or your TikTok, they're going to see this, but your art is very quirky. Like it's, I guess, pretty much abstract. You can, see, I mean, you can get what it is, but it's pretty abstract in the way you use color and things like that.
Well, I mean, I think we have enough of the stereotypical, and I think that we need to see things in different light. I think that when people put themselves in a box of this is the way this should look, and if it's, you know, rather than, like when I did a sketch of an elephant, it's clearly an elephant. There's tons of shading in it. There's hours and hours of work, but it's an elephant sitting on a soccer ball, you know,
Because that happens.
or I had a sneaker and I, took the sneaker and I changed it and made it rainbow. But it's a sneaker. It's got all the depth to it and everything else.
Yeah.
Or took an old photo of my great grandfather and did him and his friends. They were roofing, and I took that and I just, did it with different shapes and colors on their shirts and on the things in behind them, just because it needed some diversity.
Yeah,
Just
yeah. I love that. I love that. There's something about allowing that creative spirit to flow. And I think what I'm in awe of with you and with Rye as well is that I can't seem to get myself out of my head enough to actually let loose and do that. So
yeah.
maybe that's something you can teach me down the road.
It's like I said, if you can do meditation, you can put yourself into that space. You just gotta allow it to be and not judge it. Because the moment that we take judgment out of the picture, that's when source comes through.
Yeah, that's when things move. Now, the interesting thing before we go to a break is that you are also studying to become a practitioner and a minister with the Centers for Spiritual Living.
Yes, 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 yes.
I'll tell
Yes.
you, you don't have enough on your plate. You got to do a little more.
No, no, I just need to be busy all the time. Idle hands are the devil's work. I've heard.
But we don't believe in the devil, so
Devil.
Uh, so, what do you think when you do that, when you complete your training, because you've been doing it for a number of years now, but it takes a while to get there. When you complete your training, what is it that you think you're most likely to do with that education?
I don't know. I mean, I'm already putting it into work doing, the TikToks and the Instagrams and the stuff like that I do.
Hmm.
And it's just an ideal part of how I want to live my life, and I think that that influences the world around me because I think that for me, um, having a grounded sense of faith in who and what I am and what I'm connected to is what allows me to be the example of change I want to see in the world.
Yeah.
I don't like people getting caught up in life and not seeing what's around them. I don't like people taking life so seriously that they can't breathe because they're so stressed. Um, to be able to keep myself in that loving space in a world of chaos,
Yeah.
I think is the main goal. Just to keep that connection with Source strong and vital. Like, yeah, that's where I want to live. So
Nice.
if it goes any further than that, it's done its job. I'm just grateful.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thanks, sweetie. That's fantastic. That really helps me. All right, we are going to go to a break. So this is Rev B on the Joy Show, and my guest Arlene Vernon is my eldest daughter, and we are going to be back in just a couple of minutes. So do stay tuned. We will be right back.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
And we're back. Well, I'm really excited because I am interviewing today Arlene Vernon, who has a number of talents. Well, right now, when she comes back onto the screen here, we are going to be talking about a psychic ability. How exciting. So now you've had experiences throughout your life that connect you kind of with the other side. So let's talk a little bit about your psychic connection and what sometimes happens for you.
Well, I mean, I guess the best place to start is sort of, when I was a kid, just seeing and hearing things other people didn't. Now, obviously, I spent a lot of time in my grandma's house, and that place was just, it had twins living in it,
Hmm.
who had passed, and they liked to talk a lot between sleep and awake, and like to like knock on the door, bang, 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 while I was trying to go to sleep, and would call your name out, and it was very difficult as a child. As an adult, I got a very good understanding of it, but that took almost 24 years to have a
Right, right.
understanding of what I was going through. And when I was in my 20s, that's when I met Carolyn Baxter, and she really said, "No, you're okay. All of this is completely normal, and this is how to high tune this stuff so that I could see people and I could talk to them without them coming into my space, and I could read for people without invading their space." So
Oh,
it became a much more grateful thing after that.
yeah. So now when you do readings with people, what typically happens during one of these readings that you do? Like what do you do?
um, well, typically with a client, depending on what their needs are, I typically start with cards just to get them comfortable. I ask them to not ask me the question, but to ask it in their head, and to make sure that it's very specific to the answer that they're looking for.
Hmm.
As they deal out the cards, that's when everything starts to download from source. Like I was trying to explain on my TikTok, is there's up here, and then there's here, which is where it downloads, and then there's how it's transmitted. And the clearer you are with that, and the less you try and take control of it, the easier it goes when you're speaking to clients, because it is a universal download. Um, Writers will understand it when they don't have writer's block. Things just flow. Speakers are the same thing, where they don't have to write a speech; it just comes straight through. It's the same thing with the psychic when you're reading. Is what that person needs to hear is directly downloaded to you and comes forth so that you can tell them what they need to know. And typically, if there's a person that needs to speak to them, if there's a family member or something, you'll feel them, like it feels like somebody going, "Hey, hey," and you go, "Okay," and then they tell you what they need to. But it's just a small understanding of what they want to say that you hear in your head. It's
Right.
more of a feeling than an actual wording, and then it comes out. And sometimes, depending on how strong they are, you'll actually get a vision of what they look like. So
Okay. Okay. So when you're typically when you're doing a reading, are you able to, tap into either past lives for that individual or, friends and family of theirs that have passed?
depends on whether or not the friends and family want to speak to them. I find that most people come forward when they want to speak to somebody.
Yeah.
So there they'll come forward. If somebody wants me to try and channel someone, I can do that. As far as past lives go, it's a different experience, because I typically put people into a meditative state for that,
Right.
and I walk
Okay.
through to their past lives, and then we discuss it while they're in that meditative state, and then I bring them out of the state, and then we discuss it further. But I usually take them in a meditative state. I don't. That just doesn't download. It's something that comes through them.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's kind of cool. Now, do you have any recollection of any past lives that you've had?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I mean, um, I think two of the ones that I had were a little bit odd. There, as a kid, I used to have dream after dream after dream of being in a house that had so many doors and little passages and little hallways that led to nowhere, and I was constantly going through this house of never-ending doors and windows and rooms, and like there was little rooms and big rooms. Anyways, I didn't realize until they showed. I think it's the Winchester family mansion.
Mhm.
Basically, there's the biggest gun manufacturer in the U.S. had a daughter, and she inherited all their money after they passed, the original gun makers and stuff. And what she did is she started building a house to satisfy the ghosts of the people that those guns had killed. So they would keep telling her to keep building and to keep building and to keep building, and she built all these little doors and all these little things, and she built for, I think it was 80 some odd years, onto this house. And that was the house I kept seeing in my dream. Now, whether or not I was her or the carpenter, I don't know. But I recognized the house. I recognized the passageways from being, nightmarish dreams that I'd had ever since I was a kid.
Wow.
So
That's interesting. Now, typically when people come to you for readings, is there something specific that they're asking, or like is there sort of the normal things that people come going, I need to know about this, or is it always something really different for every person?
it's individualized 100%, and how spirit gives it to them depends on them. I mean, the one woman walked in the door, and the instant she walked in the door, all of a sudden I was like, I just can't breathe. Like I felt like my throat was being closed off, and I was like, and my chest was heavy, and I looked at her and I said, okay, why can't I breathe? What is, who is it in your life that can't breathe, that has the heaviness in the chest? And she's like, well, that's why I'm here, my mom. She died from COPD.
Okay, okay. Well, that's
Depends on the
well,
person.
now, why would you want to do this if that's kind of how you might feel in the experience?
Well,
Like,
because I don't own it. I
oh,
just feel 2 minutes. I feel sort of what they're going through, because being a psychic, you have to be an empath at the same time, because
right.
a lot of what you get is feeling. So you'll feel something, or you'll have an understanding of something, and it just downloads. Being an empath is extremely difficult because you feel other people's emotions. So before anybody tells you they're annoyed with you, you know. Before before somebody tells you that it's over, you know. Like,
Yeah.
everything is not a thing to you, and if people don't feel or love the same way you do, you're like, like it's way more devastating. But I do it because I love people. I love the experience of my life. I love being connected to Source, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, because there is nothing more pure than working with energy and working with enlightenment and seeing somebody go, thank you for giving me that moment I wouldn't have ever got before. That
Well,
to me is,
that yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It can be a precious experience, depending on what goes on and what comes from it.
yeah.
Now, when you're doing readings, does it have to be in person?
No,
So
absolutely.
distance makes no difference?
Nope. No, because we are universe, we are source, and I mean, I think this is why the religion speaks to me so loudly, is because it's about the only thing that aligns with what I know to be true. Because everything I get is because I am part of the source. I am part
Right.
of the download. I am part of this. So for me, separating myself from source would never be a thing. It's yeah, it's just, you have to have that download. You have to have that connection with source, and that's why I'm so connected with it. So I think
Well,
it's,
yeah, what I love is in this teaching, because what we teach is that there is only one. There's one power in the universe. We all are some part of it. We live, move, and have our being in it. And where we connect is at the subjective level of mind. And that's where we are one. So we can know things without knowing why we know them. We can connect with people. Somebody could be miles away, and all of a sudden we get the urge to phone them, and then our phone rings and it's them on the line, right? There's a connection there. It's one of the things that I love about this teaching as well, is that there is this idea that there's only one thing going on. So if I do something harmful to someone, I've actually harmed myself.
exactly. And that's
So
the
yeah.
reading is, where in the world you are or what's going on. Source speaks loud and clear. And the people who are on the other side, I mean, they have a great deal of clarity because they've already been through, they've already done.
They've
And that's not,
done this.
I mean, let's be honest, there's a bunch of people who didn't have faith or didn't have direction or didn't know where they were going, and they're lost in turmoil. And that's I hate to say it this way, but it really sucks for them
Yeah.
because they end up wandering in purgatory. They put themselves in a situation that they can't get out of because they're locked into their human existence because they didn't take the time to experience more than just the human condition.
Right.
So
So, how do
that,
you balance that out in your life? Just, you've got a busy life with your children, your grandchild. Life is busy. You have 7 dogs. That's
yeah,
busy. So, how do you balance all this stuff out? You've got a lot on your plate.
clear set boundaries. Jude goes to school, thank God. And during the summer, I've put him in day camps and stuff. I mean, my daughters are older, and God bless COVID. I hate to say it this way, but my youngest daughter, I used to have to go to the hospital all the time when COVID, when I wasn't allowed. So it gave her the internal strength to be able to go to the hospital on her own now, which allows me.
Mm,
And it's
is that
also made
good?
me being as well, and given her that strength to manage her things. And my oldest child really, you know, when they need me, it's rare, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm there.
Yeah, that's what happens over time is they start to drift away, drift away. I know the feeling.
I don't,
I have 4 of you. What's that?
I don't seem that far away currently.
Well, you seem quite close. Little do people know there's about 3,000 kilometers between us. Exactly. Well, what I love about this psychic energy. Now, okay, put you on the spot for a second here. Uh, Tell me something about me, not as your mom that you know, but something that might come to you right now about, I've got a trip coming up, I've got some stuff. What's
Well, there's some fear, there's some anxiety, there's excitement. Um, Everything's going to go very well, better than you expected. Things are going to grow in the way you want them to, but you need to quiet your mind. Does that help?
Yeah. I've been doing, I have a mentor who's got me doing morning pages. So for 15 minutes every morning, I'm writing out these pages, but then at the end of the week, I have to read them and then highlight the stuff that's kind of like repeating itself.
Yep.
Oh dear. Yeah, I need to quiet my mind. I'm real clear about that. So that I know, that I know. Yeah, it's just exciting to be able to think about things from a little bit different perspective. We're so accustomed to looking at the world out here and assuming that's all there is. But it's merely a reflection of something that's been created from inside here. So as we move forward, it really can cause us some dilemmas sometimes if we're only living from the external experience.
Well, and that's the advantage of being a psychic for someone else is there's when I'm coming through it straight through source for them. I'm not putting ego in it for them because it doesn't serve.
Right.
So that's the advantage. I mean, it's not the advantage in my life as per se, but when I'm working with a client, it makes it very simple because there's no ego. It's direct, straight through, and that's the kind of thing sometimes people need is just for somebody to give them that confirmation, or to give
Yeah.
them that moment, or to open that door and say yes. And
Nice.
that's where a psychic comes in handy. Or if something happened where they didn't get the chance to talk to that person on the other side and there's a connection there that needs to be met.
Right.
Those kind of things. Or they've got a fear that they don't understand and we do a past life regression and it's like, there it is. There's that fear you don't understand for no reason, and
Goes
let's get
for
rid
it. Okay. Well, that's cool. That's really cool. So as you're journeying along and doing the stuff that you do, is there anything about being a psychic that causes you challenges? Like, is there anything about it that's created difficulty for your life?
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's where Carolyn came in handy because as a psychic, you get people coming to you you don't want. you get people coming to you because just like there's jerks on earth, there's jerks there too. And the one time when my daughter was first born, my oldest daughter, I had a serial killer coming to me on a daily basis, showing me stuff he had done in the past and laughing his butt off and haunting my dreams. And honestly, it was driving me crazy because he felt that he could have full access because I didn't know how to block.
Okay. So is that
So
what you learned from Carolyn, is how to stop that from happening?
yes, how to pull in Archangel Michael, how to do the white light of protection, how to keep myself safe, because that's something I didn't know as a child. And that was the hardest part, is you'd go into a building or you'd go to somebody's house and you'd have an intrusive ghost. Somebody who was a jerk in real life and decided to continue on because they had no faith, and that's kind of who they are. So until they work through whatever it is, they're going to drive people nuts on this side. So
Okay.
that was probably the biggest one because there was a lot of fear wrapped around that
Yeah.
particular. Learning how to control it and learning how
Mhm.
to channel properly and to defend myself was huge.
Okay. Wow. Never thought of that. Now, is there a particular type of cards that you use when you do readings?
Um, I use animal cards now because that's where my connection is. For many, many years, I think for the majority of my readings, probably 30 years, I used angel cards.
Angel
And
cards. Okay.
I just recently changed to animal cards because I had two separate decks given to me. And I knew it was time to move on. Because
Oh,
I, I am ridiculous. People think I'm a lamb because I listen to what the universe says and I follow, because I learned in the past, I would say 15 years, or no, 17 years, to just stop and listen. Because every time I fought it, it bit me in the butt. So,
well, one of the things we teach is that what you resist persists.
yep.
And so it's really important to kind of get the message. And I've always found anything that comes to me two or three times, there's a message there that I need to heed. And I've lived that way for quite a long time as well. That when something happens over and over again, I remember last year I had a couple of friends who ended up with oh, what's that?
Shingles.
Shingles, thank you. That ended up with shingles. And when the second woman showed up on my camera with, her face marked up with shingles, I was like, wow, I think it's time to get the vaccine. Um, so I did. I phoned my doctor and he's going, well, you don't need to do it now. Just wait, another 6, 8 months and you'll be 65. You won't have to pay for it. And I'm like, no, this came twice. Plus Pierre had it start and he was able to go to his doctor and get it rectified. So I thought, no, 3 times, that's a message. And I've, gotten into the habit of listening to these messages when they come, because the alternative is the cosmic sledgehammer is what I call it. But something happens that knocks us down. And, we might look at life and go, whoa, why is it so hard? Or why is everything working against me? But the truth is, it all is created in consciousness.
So when I'm working with clients, one of the things I tell them is you always have a choice. You can make the wrong choice over and over again. I give you permission. I
Mhm.
said, but the universe won't. I said, basically what's going to happen is you're going to start with little obstacles, and then you're going to get big obstacles, and then you're going to get bigger obstacles. And then basically what's going to happen is something's going to happen that's going to lay you out flat. And if you don't get it, it's going to continue to get worse. Um, when the universe is knocking you and telling you this isn't the way to go. So my wedding to my first husband was a grand example of this. The day before my wedding, I was getting my nails done, and my maid of honor found out I was getting my nails done and said, you didn't pay to get mine done. That's it. I'm not going to be your maid of honor, which was brilliant. Uh, um,
Oops.
I had this Chip and Dale looking dancer fireman that I worked with who was just like, oh, do you want to go out on a date? And I'm like, no, I'm getting married tomorrow. And he's like, what? I'm like, okay. And then the next day, I'm not kidding you, it was one thing after another. People were showing up late. There was literally traffic stops and construction every road I took to there. My whole family's like, don't do it. And you know what?
Yes, I remember that.
And I suffered. And I suffered hard for it. And the longer I tried to stay on it, the worse it got.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you from experience, I'm never going down that path again. And like I said, people find it funny that they'll be like, oh well, I'm running this course or I'm doing something, and all of a sudden they go, okay, yeah, I'll sign up. And they're like, what? I'm like, when something's put in front of me and it's a positive thing, I'm going to jump on it because my life's too short not to say yes.
I like that. I like that. Saying yes. Say yes when you mean yes. Say yes when it's fun or interesting or positive, inspiring, enlightening, whatever. Say yes. And
Say
say
yes.
no when you mean no.
Tomorrow is not a guarantee. Today is. Always say yes and always fulfill your best interest because you know what? Everybody else will get over it if they see your joy.
Well, yeah, that's true. And I think joy is something that all of us have within us. And it's really about, can I allow it to express? Can I be funny and silly? And, what can I do to make life a little bit easier?
Well, you can do whatever you want because that's the right we've been given by the universal force by saying, here, we put you here, make the best of it, but
Yeah.
you choose whatever you want. If you want to live in fear, if you want to live in what ifs, if you want to stop yourself from doing something, the universe will give you a guideline and say, okay, within this range, you're good. But if you start stepping outside that range, it's going to send you synchronicities. It's going to send you things. It's going to tell you this is not on your path. This is not the way you're supposed to go.
Yeah.
You
When
are,
those doors close.
and most people, like don't really understand it to the same level, but we have choices. We have choices. We make them every day. And when we say to the universe, yes, I want to be here. Yes, I want to be conscious. I want to make the best me that I can be. It opens all those doors to allow you to do it, but you have to say yes when that door opens.
Well, and that was the whole premise of this show, Just One You. The Joy Show is really about joy shows up, or we experience joy to the level that we will allow ourselves to live authentically, that we will allow our real self to be seen and heard in the world, and that we'll stand up for what we believe in, we'll share our gifts, all of these different things. uh, yeah. So really, really important. And Deja just sent me a message. She actually has some images from your dolls and carvings. So I'm going to get her. That's one
Oh,
of your carvings. That's
that's
very
a
cool.
swan lamp.
Swan lamp,
Yeah.
not to be confused with Swan Lake. That's very different.
Now you put
Um,
that, you get a shortage.
well, Swan Lake is actually a ballet, but
No, I, I,
okay. What else have you got, Deja? Now here, see, this is what I mean, people. I mean, check this out. This doll has got a little bit of pizzazz and character. Hey, purple hair, just like me.
she, well, it's you. The
Oh, it's
thing,
me. Oh, good.
just all your energy shooting out to all your people.
Oh, nice. I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. This one's real sweet. Rainbow
Yeah.
hair. Hey, it's Pride Month. This is perfect.
Well,
Our
this
little.
one's wanted. This doll, I
Mhm.
love her. But when I got this doll, she was a bright purple monster high doll, and basically what had happened, and another artist had started working on her and not finished her.
Okay.
So I started working on her. This is not the finished product, but I had to take a picture because I really loved the way she looked.
Yeah.
But she scared the living bedickens out of me, so I changed her face and appearance, and she still creeps me out a little bit. But I have a bond with her that I will never let her go. I Yeah, she's really cool. She looks very very realistic now,
Yeah.
but she's 100% haunted as all get up, and I don't know by who, but I like her.
A little haunted. That's cool. What other ones do you have, Deja? Oh, this one. This is a horse.
Yes, yes. This was a project that the Calgary Stampede had asked for people to do something that inspires them about Calgary about Canada and to put a maple flag in it. And this is what I came up with.
Wow. Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's very cool. Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. Yes. This was done for a friend of mine who spends so much time in her head and in the spirit land of spirit that she's no earthly good. I love it. It looks great, but she's a very person
I
who
like
says,
it too. I like it. That's awesome. All
yep,
right. Do you have any more, Deja? No, that's it. Well, that's great. I'm glad we got to show a little bit of your art as well. You know, we've got your photography, your art, your psychic abilities, and you have a great sense of humor, and you're beautiful. So, just like mom. No, being silly, just being silly. But you know, it's important to live your authentic life, your authentic truth, and you're doing that. And so I'm really proud that as a mom, I'm really proud that you found your voice and allow the diversity of it, which is very diverse from all the different modalities that you play in. But it seems to bring you incredible joy.
it does. I've, in the last 6 to 18 years, I've lived a lot of, lived a lot of joy.
Nice. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really, really grateful that you did. And for anybody watching, I hope you'll check out Arlene's Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Believe me, they will keep you entertained. She's, she's got lots of stuff on TikTok too, but a lot of her photography is on Instagram. So go there and you can see all that wildlife stuff. And Arlene, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you
I
for
love
having.
you.
Love you too.
I'm glad she could be here. And she was in her car today because perfect day for this. The roofers came to redo the roof of her house just a little while before we were getting ready to do the show. Yay! Best laid plans, right? Well, you've been watching Rev B and the Joy Show, and this show is all about living your authentic truth. And as we go through the journey of life and living, one of the things we need to remember is that life is a journey without a destination. And as we come to terms with that, we start to realize the value of this now moment. So, in this now moment, I have power. In this now moment, I can create. My imagination can run wild. I can play. I can just be present. And when I'm present, interesting things happen. And there's a connection that happens with us, with other people as well. So, really, really important to be present with whatever's going on, to acknowledge and recognize that the only point of power is now, that the past does not exist, the future does not exist. One's done, the other one's yet to come. But right now is where all creation happens. So I invite you to be your best self. Let that glorious divine light inside of you out to play and watch the magic that occurs as a result. Thank you for being here. I'm Rev B, and check me out Monday night. CSL on the Lake goes live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a marvelous week. I love you. God bless you. Namaste.